Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another live so that we can talk about the things that are happening in the country and the world and all over the place and how they may, impact us and how they are impacting us. So glad to have you with me. If you are joining me via Substack, YouTube, or Facebook, please say hello in the chat so that I can speak back. Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning, Alex. What's up, Sister Sarah? Hey, Winn-Dixie, hospice nurse. Good morning, MG Brock C. What's up, Lisa? Hey, David. Good morning. What's up, Doug? Hello, Conchita. Hello, Spicy. Donna Ski, good to see you as well. Hey, Farah. What's up, Masani? How is everyone? Good morning, Ed Trey. What's up, Angela? Blue Honey Pot, good to see you. Hello, Alice. Good morning. What's up, Lisa? The other Lisa. Hey, Carrie Morrison. Good to see you as well. Hey, Grammy. What's up, Ed Trey? Hello, Preezy. How is everybody? Good morning, Tara Love over in YouTube. Good to see you guys this morning. There's a lot of people live today, so I appreciate you all choosing to be here with me. What's up, Dad Jokes and Penny GF? Hey, Cassie and Jen, Donna Ski. I think I said Grammy already. What's up, Witch and Peacekeeper? Hey, Sandy. Good morning. Yeah. So, we were on until about 1:30 this morning, and there was a lot that we didn't get to. So we're going to be digging in a lot to talk about things. Hey, Brandy, Allie Nicole, what's up, Beach Bum Wannabe? Hello, Linda. How are you? What's up, Pamela, over in YouTube? How are you? Everybody is good? Hey, Cam, I'm trying to do better about jumping on here and acting like I care about my appearance. Hey, Juan, because for a minute there it was just ball caps and bandanas. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. And so I'm trying to be better about those things, because just saying. I know, Cam, it just be what it is sometimes, and then I forget that this stuff stays on the internet forever. Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah, baby, they're cooking. Do you hear them? They're almost done. Y'all know Mila Boo is asking me about her noodles already, but I'm already cooking them. So I appreciate that, Tara. So yeah, I did. They're on and they're going so fast. It'll be probably about 5 more minutes, and then they'll be done, and I'll be able to whip it up for you so you can eat. Okay? It's crazy because she's already had I know, girl. Yeah, she's already had daggone muffins, but she wants noodles. Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate that. What's up, Tam Bam? So, I know. Okay, so last night, when we were on, hey, Jamie Frey, good to see you as well. So, hey, Delgrave, 100%. Hey, Hector, good to see you. All right, so I want to dive in and talk about some things. Did I get some rest? Lynn, we got off at 1:30. I guess I was asleep by 2:15-ish, and I've been up since 6:30. So whatever kind of rest that is, that's what I got. Hey, AJW. Hey, Edith, good to see you as well. All right, so listen, we have got court filing stuff to go over today, and so I'm excited about that. Appreciate you. I've got 3 hours with you. Okay, because kiddos have physical therapy today. So 3 hours, we're going to get in as much as we can. And then I'm going to dip precisely at 2 to make sure that these jokers are ready to go. And so we make it to physical therapy so they can get the things that they need to get done. Okay. So, hey, Funny Face, good to see you too. I think I saw Candy Kiss and anyway, whoever else that I may have missed, love you, appreciate you, thank you for being here. All right, so oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna try to get to that too. I made some additional notes in there for things that I saw this morning that I may or may not get to. Thank you, Sandy, that I may or may not get to before 2:00. But I will definitely get to them later today whenever we come back and make things happen. Hey, Deborah, good to see you. All right, so let's pop it up here. Hey, Thomas, good to see you as well. Appreciate you guys for hopping in to talk about conversations. So let me just say this. If there are trolls, I just want to say leave them unless I say ditch them, right? because sometimes I worry about us muting or booting them too fast and hurting the algorithm. So we're just going to do a thing and keep it running and keep it going. And then we'll kind of go from there. Okay. So, again, I mentioned something last night that I want to mention this morning. And I'm going to be putting the information in my Discord. I hadn't had a chance yet, but I will put it in here this afternoon. So my oldest daughter's, one of her best friends, so that means that these folks are around 30 years old. One of her best friends has had her leukemia come back, and it is a specific type of leukemia. And the thing that is frustrating about it, so she's in graduate school to be a doctor, and she still has her school insurance through the end of this month. I know, almost done. But even though she still has school insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield is refusing to approve her treatment for the leukemia until she gets a secondary plan after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some information, including some pictures in my Discord. I would appreciate you all sharing that information and tagging Blue Cross Blue Shield in it so that we can apply some pressure. I am so tired of insurance companies acting like people's lives don't matter when they do. And so, yeah, so, I wanted to make sure that, that I tell everybody about that. I rarely ask for you guys to share anything, but I'm going to post the information about the leukemia. I'm also going to post the information that her sister provided about Blue Cross Blue Shield in terms of their social media, whatever I'm trying to say, whatever their names are on social media. And I will also share their GoFundMe. So what I'm going to ask really quickly is if I can have somebody, maybe Lisa or somebody that is up here can just pop up for a second, just so I can put Mila's noodles in a cup, and then we can dive right into everything. So can I get one of my regular folks to come up very quickly? Thank you, Lisa, and just bridge the gap for me so I can feed Mila, and then we're diving right in. Okay, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, no problem. Good morning, all the Danikin. Excuse me, and the newcomers. Welcome. I hope everybody got some rest because we were up. Because we were up late last night, right? And we all got up early this morning. Just remember when you come in to do your heart knees, which is that little heart with the number in it, right to the right side of Dani's name in the upper left corner. Do all your little things. Hi, Righteous Giggles. Hi, V. Lauren. So do all your things. Send a comment. There's a tap the screen a couple times. And then make sure you go back and you collect all your little credits.
Yeah, YouTube folks got to remember to subscribe as well and like.
Yep, YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like and comment and share on all of Dani's videos. Even if you go back and watch it, later on after she's done, you go back and watch the video. Commenting and sharing on YouTube is like the best possible thing that you can do. It's really difficult for creators to get traction on YouTube. It's one of the most difficult that I've found platforms there is. And they really like comments and sharing over there. But make sure you're at the very least subscribed. So you go to her channel, or you could just go to, there should be a subscribe button right underneath the video if you're on YouTube. Make sure you are being respectful, right? No slurs, no spamming, no all caps. That's reserved for mods and people who are visually impaired. And Dani's going to have a great show for us today, like she always does. We're going to talk about the Abrego Garcia case.
Yes.
And she is back.
I am back. Thank you.
The noodles are finished.
The noodles are finished. So we're going to dive right into things. Appreciate you, Lisa. Thank you much, friend.
Yes, no problem.
All right, so folks, so let me just say this. Last night we ended with like one of the funnies, but today I'm gonna keep that funny for lady, if you can, if you don't put the info about what Rep Fest for younger people in your list. If you can't, I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, Edith. So just can somebody put it in Discord so that I can read it? Yeah, Smokey, let's have that conversation. Smokey, I sent you an invitation to join the panel. Would love for you to do that so we can talk about your comment. Smokey's comment was, why do we feel the need to protect illegals, foreign invaders / illegals over Americans? I personally don't think that Smokey is a real person who cares about the subject. I think that Smokey is probably just a troll. But what I will do is I will give Smokey the opportunity to, hey, Mr. Barrios, to join the panel and have an actual conversation and prove to us that Smokey's not just a troll and that they're actually a decent human being interested in having productive conversation. So I'll give you a moment to do that, Smokey. If you choose not to do that and you stay in the comments and then you are disruptive, then eventually what I will say is I will give my moderators a heads up and they will go ahead and mute you and boot you from this live. Not because you disagree, but because you're not willing to engage in productive conversation about it. And so there's no use in you being here. Got it? Hey, Hilda. Good morning. Hey, Karen. Good to see everybody. Hey, Iris. Good to see you over there. Did I get sleep last night? Yeah, I don't know. I've been up since 6:30. So maybe 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours is what I got. Hey, Dr. Emmy, good to see you as well. Hey, Chef. So I want to talk about some of the stuff that is happening with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case. And I want to talk about it from a couple of different perspectives. What's up, KT? So I don't just want to talk about what happened in court on Monday and what the judge said on Monday. I also want to talk about the history of the case and how we got to where we are. And the reason I want to talk about that is because all of it matters from a legal precedent perspective. What's up, Jeremiah? So you might think, oh, well, it doesn't apply to me because I'm a citizen and he's an unauthorized immigrant. So whatever has happened with his case can't or wouldn't happen to me. But that's not the way that law works. That's not the way that law works. So let's just say, so whatever the outcome is of this case, because it falls under the heading of immigration, there is the possibility for this administration or any other administration to be able to argue in court some of the same components and findings in a separate immigration case that might have something to do with a citizen, and they might use additional information and additional arguments combined with other laws. And so I want people to understand, especially if you're a naturalized citizen or something like that, these are things that you want to be aware of, because once it becomes a precedent legally, then it becomes this very, I hate this word because it's this phrase because it's so overused, but it becomes a slippery slope that can impact a lot more people than maybe originally intended, or people that thought, that it would never touch them, right? So it's important for us to talk about that. No, Chris Dewey. And so here's my thing. When you say, can we deport Melania and her son? The answer is no to Barron, because he has one parent that is a U.S. citizen, period, right? So Melania being an immigrant doesn't mean that he gets. So the way that the birthright citizenship deal is written is that it has to do with people who don't have a U.S. citizen parent that's part of that's here, that's a citizen. But let me just say this. One of the things that I think could be an issue if somebody wanted to bring this case legally, right, is understanding that Melania came here on a very specific type of visa. She came here on a visa called an Einstein visa, which you could probably guess what that visa is supposed to be used for. That visa is supposed to be used for exceptionally brilliant people that are like advanced in physics or doctorates or, STEM. Like, obviously the name is Einstein, right? So that type of visa is specifically supposed to be used for people in those fields. She doesn't qualify because she was a model. So if someone wanted to bring that as a case, as part of whatever, then yeah, there's the possibility. So, and I don't know, this is just me thinking about how that could have occurred. What I would imagine is that at the time that, they needed to make Melania a citizen of the United States, the particular type of visa that would have applied to her was at its limit. So for those of you who do not know, we have different types of visas that you get here. And there's a specific number of people. There's a threshold, right? There is a threshold for the number of those types of visas that can be given out every single year. So what I would imagine is that, hey, Amy, what I would imagine is that the original visa that would have applied to her had reached its maximum. And so they found a visa that had spots available, because after all, there's not that many damn Einsteins in the world every year. And so that's what I would imagine happened, right? And that's how she got here. So could somebody question that? Sure. Will they? I don't know. Right. So just so we're clear. What's up, Tracy? Hey, Patrice. So having said all of that, yeah, but it doesn't qualify. Modeling is not Einstein work. She doesn't qualify for an Einstein visa, period. Now, so what I do want to talk about, are the things that are going, I hate seeing when people post certain things. Yeah, there's a lot of words that matter. I don't know how you make a town hall mandatory for people. So let me just say this. People that are saying calling her a model is very generous. Here's what I would say is we don't shame SMEC's work here. We don't shame that type of work. We don't do that, right? So is she modeling and somebody's taking pictures for a magazine? That's modeling. You might not care for the type of modeling that she's doing, but I can tell you the type of modeling that she did is hard work to do. So we're not going to shame the type of model that she is. That's one of the things that I wish Jasmine Crockett had not done. So when Jasmine Crockett talked about this on the floor of Congress, and she talked about Melania Trump getting an Einstein visa, one of the things that she said is, she's a model, and she said, and I'm not talking, Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell level model. And see, so to me, that was something that was completely unnecessary, had nothing to do with the substance of the argument. And it was a personal attack that shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have been there, period. Right? At all. You might not like SMEC's work, right? You might not like it, but it is work. It is work. And we don't demean people who do that type of work. The only thing that we care about is she's not qualified for the type of visa that she came in on. That's what we care about. No, Eric Rose, I don't. No, I don't. C, did you mean to request up? But Edith, let me just say this. There are people who are in Schmeck's work who aren't in poverty. It's just what they chose. Some people, they prefer that type of work. Thanks, Kim. So I want us to not try to justify Schmeck's work as, well, it's acceptable because it's being used to get out of poverty. Not necessarily. It's acceptable because it's work. And if you don't like that type of work, then don't get into that type of work. Right, Eric Rose, one of the oldest professions in the world and in the US. So that's what I have to say about that. I just want us to not justify. So the same way that I don't want people to say that we shouldn't deport immigrants because they pick our fruit or they build our houses. No, we shouldn't be rounding them up and deporting them without due process because it violates the Constitution. Not because of whatever they do, because by the way, they do more than that, right? But someone's value isn't tied to what they do for work. Someone's value is determined by being a human being, period. And just because I saw the comment that said she's a public figure, anything goes, no, it doesn't. And if that's what you believe, that tells me something about you, your morality, and your integrity as a person. If you believe that somebody being a public figure justifies you being able to say whatever you want to say about them, that tells me what kind of person you are. And I hope that your children and your grandchildren never go into political service, that they never become a government worker. I hope that they never do anything that puts them in the public eye where someone can say and do whatever they do about them. Hey, C, good morning. What you got for me?
I just wanted to clarify real quick about the EB1 visa.
Yeah.
I've done those for people, and it's just exceptional in your field. I know the nickname of Einstein throws people a little bit,
Yeah.
but it does include the arts. And you probably could, as a model, apply for one if you were like Naomi Campbell or something.
Right.
But it does include anybody exceptional in their field that is bringing something of value to this country with what they do. So it's not just people who are scientists and mathematicians and
Great.
things like that.
I love the clarity. Thank
That's
you.
all I wanted.
Yes, I love that. I don't know,
You,
Janice.
Keep educating us.
Yeah, appreciate you, sis. I don't know, Janice, if I was or wasn't on your FYP. I think there are a lot of people that are live right now. I know Don Lemon is live. I know Fax is live. I think I saw Santana live. There's a lot of people that are live right now. So, I don't know, is what it is. You know what? TikTok might not like the fact that I'm using the same graphic as yesterday. Pickles is live too. You know what? TikTok doesn't like if you reuse graphics, even if you're talking about the same thing. So let me do a quick new graphic and throw it up there so TikTok can get off my back. Yeah, I know, Chris. I know he is. Or at least he was a minute ago. Who can I add to this sucker real quick? Give me a second, folks. Jeez, oh, Pete. I'll add this one just for shits and giggles. Sorry. Give me a second. I don't want TikTok to penalize me because they will, because they're kind of wonky like that, right? I'm just picking a few other people because they might come into these conversations at some point, probably, and we can talk about them. Oh, I know a face I can put up here real quick too that will matter. Give me 1 second because I definitely want this. Good God, measles cases in the United States have hit a 3-decade high. In case anyone is wondering about, how great RFK is doing in his job. Oh, I can't with this dude. I can't. I think that people should really not argue with the experts and the pediatricians who have been in these fields and done this work for a really long time and put your children and other children at risk. I just really encourage people to find out the information and make decisions accordingly. Y'all, I told you all, we looked the other day and there is actually a travel advisory. So for anybody that is coming from the United States to Honduras right now, you have to provide documentation and proof that you are vaccinated from measles. Why is that? Because they have had it under control and they do not want Americans bringing it back into their country. So we have reached the point, folks, in our time under the Trump administration that we now have what many people would consider to be third world countries putting advisories out to keep what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world from bringing diseases to them that have previously been pretty much, eradicated, right? So there's that. So give me a second. I'm going to pull up this other new graphic and we're going to get things popping. Let me see real quickly. All right. Awesome. Da-da-da. Now there's a new graphic. So TikTok can stop being angry with me. How about that? Janice, I have been on, I want to say right at about 25 minutes or so, give or take. All right. Okay, folks. So let's dive right in. What I want to talk about first and foremost is the Abrego Garcia case. It is embarrassing, Hector. It is embarrassing. I appreciate you all. Oh gosh, yeah, I can't. So I'm gonna have to do a live later this week or this weekend because we've had some more hospitals close and we have some that are very much on the brink of closure. And I want people to understand when we talk about these Medicaid and SNAP cuts. SNAP for you is whatever your state calls, or EBT, right? Whatever allows you to purchase groceries and feed your family because you don't make a ton of money. That's what SNAP benefits are. And when we talk about Medicaid, in Tennessee, that's going to be TennCare, right? In New York, it's Healthy New York. So it's whatever your state calls it. What you need to know is Medicaid is your state health insurance program, and it is jointly funded by federal dollars and state dollars. Okay. This one big barbaric bill will start to eliminate people from that health insurance coverage and some of the SNAP benefits beginning in December of 2026. So just want to kind of let everybody know that. What's up, Cheryl?
Hey, sorry, I was coming a little late on the previous convo, so I just wanted to throw something in there real quick, if it's okay.
Sure.
I want to say thank you for bringing up the topic and talking about Schmeck's work, because a lot of people avoid that conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for that, but I want to put it in a little bit of perspective for people. We have the same thing going on where people devalue those with disabilities because of their inability to contribute in the way that society thinks they should be contributing, instead of looking at the fact that we're valuing them as a human. And this goes across the board with everything. So if you think that what people offer as a disability, whether they can or can't work and whatever it is they're able to do is fine because of disability, you should look at it that way for Schmeck's workers too. We're doing what we can do. And you shouldn't be devaluing based on their contribution. Yep. You should be valuing them as a human being.
100%. 100%.
As long as what they're doing is not harming others, leave them be, and just value them as a human. So I just wanted to throw that in there because, the same people, I find in a lot of groups that people devalue and look down upon Schmeck's workers that might also be advocating for all these other groups.
Yes.
And we should be doing it for them too.
Yeah, we have to check our bias all the way across the board, right? Yes. And so it's uncovering all of those things, right? You can imagine, I've told y'all, I grew up neck deep in church, Southern Baptist, all the things, right? So you can imagine how I was raised to view people who participate in Schmeck's work and the practice of it. You can just imagine. And that also it overflowed into the areas of, young girls. It was always fast ass little girls. It was never predatory boys. If you notice that, it was always how short was her skirt, or, you need to bend over. It was never about men being raised to be predatory or boys being raised to view women as objects, not as human beings, not as sisters, not as daughters, not as, future moms, not as women, not as human beings. And so all of those things go together. Good morning, JC. You are welcome to come to the panel. You don't have to turn on your camera. I would love to have that conversation with you.
Well, I'll say real quick and you can drop me.
Yeah.
We don't want to give our government any reasons to devalue any human being, period. We don't want to be part of that. You
Correct.
want to make sure that you're, like she said, checking your bias and understanding that they are just as human as you are.
100%.
And they're doing what they can do to survive and take care of themselves, or it might even be what they choose to do.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
100%. Yep. Appreciate you as always, Cheryl. Yeah. Let me just tell you guys this, right? When it comes to, we see this very prevalent in our society. So if you really want to see some interesting data and interesting statistics, look at sentencing rates for unaliving people. You will find that people get longer sentencing rates for unaliving men over women, over children. You will see like there's a disparity in sentencing for unaliving particular groups of people, and there's a disparity in sentencing for the people who unalive them. And so if you really want to kind of go down and figure things out, we have think about this, you guys. I want you to think about disability cases or personal injury cases. Personal injury cases, part of how much money you can get is based off of how much money you were making. So if you weren't making a lot of money, if it's your potential loss of income is how many states determine the cap for how much money you can get when it comes to punitive damages and so forth and so on. So this idea that human beings are only as valuable as the money that they make or the jobs that they have or the jobs that they do, that is ingrained not only in our society from a subconscious, structure of what we think of human beings, but it's ingrained in our legal system. And it shows up in personal injury cases. It shows up in your criminal cases, all the way across the board. Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. I know an individual who is unequivocally no longer with us on this earth due to medical negligence and neglect. Like it's straight up medical malpractice. And I have all the reports and I have all the things. And when the attorneys for the health system were trying to appreciate you, Ashraf, we're trying to get the family to take a settlement, one of the things that they were threatening to do was to bring up the fact that this person was on Suboxone, to bring up the fact that this person was had a job, but was also doing jobs on the side and getting paid under the table. And so they were going to bring that information up to justify to the court that it's not that this person doesn't actually have the monetary value that the family was claiming. And it's absolutely disgusting that this is how we determine the value of life. It's absolutely disgusting. And so these are the things that when we talk about, guys, it's not just the politics. I keep telling you, politics is simply the policies that impact people. And we have to start thinking about the fact that we, the people, right, and the people that we elect, get it to me and I'll pour it for you. The people that we elect are the people that make the policy, right? So if we want better policy, then we absolutely need to put different people in office. Okay? All right. If you give it to me, I'll pour it for you, sis. I got you. I am working, but you can give it to me while I'm working and I'll still pour it for you. I'll put it in your bluey cup for you. Well, give it to me and I will. Well, you get it and I'll pour it. We're going to work together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay? Yeah, we're going to work together. You're going to get it and I'm going to pour it. Look, it's right there on the counter. All you got to do is grab it and give it to me. All right. She's very cute. Yes, the bluey cup. All right. So,
Well, I have water in it.
no, it has juice in it. I gave it to you earlier today. You didn't see that I gave you juice when I gave you muffins? Yeah, girl, I poured you juice. You didn't see it?
This one juice.
Yeah, that's your brand new juice. All right, so here we go. So what I want to talk about this morning, and it is going to involve me reading some court documents and then discussing them as we read. Okay. Before I do that, let me just recap. Hey, Susie, good to see you. Hey, Rebecca Little Bird. Let me also say this. If you have not gone into my link tree, I recommend that you do that. And I want you to click the link that says political material resources, something like that, political materials. Click that. And when you get in there, there are statistics in there and there are graphics that you can use. I finished all of New Jersey by district and all of Virginia by district as to what Medicaid and SNAP, the number of people in your districts and your house districts that stand to lose coverage because of this new bill that has passed. It is in there for you to look at, for you to share, for you to talk to your neighbors. There's also a Google form in there called the American Reality Project. That is where I am interviewing individuals who are on SNAP or who are on Medicaid, and talking to you about what your life looks like if you lose these benefits. If you are willing to do that with me and have that information shared publicly, then you can go to the thanks, Palestine. You can go to that Google form, fill it out, and I'll shoot you an email. If Tina Noel is in here, Tina, I sent you an email this morning. Okay. All right. Awesome. So all of that is in there so that you all know. Your friend filled out the form. Awesome. I'll be sending those out. What's up, Reyes? I'll be sending out emails over a little bit. Got you, Sarah. I'll be contacting you as well. All right. So I want to talk about this Kilmar Abrego Garcia court. You're welcome, Candy Kiss. I want to talk about this court document. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. This court document was filed last week by Kilmar Abrego Garcia's attorneys. And the reason why this information is important is because this could be you, this could be your loved one, for a variety of different reasons. Duza, if you would like to talk to me, just go to my link tree and fill it out. Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And all of these things kind of go together. I just want everybody to understand. We touched on this briefly yesterday. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that what we see happening here isn't just happening here. All right. So this push for very right wing, very conservative, thanks, Debbie, very extreme positions. It's not just happening here. And that is why it matters. It matters that the Heritage Foundation opened an office in London. It matters that Charlie Kirk with Turning Point opened an office in London. It matters who the United States of America is choosing to ally and to work with. It matters that that the Heritage Foundation wrote an entire manual, if you will. They love their playbooks, right? So I don't know how many of you all know this, but the Heritage Foundation wrote a document that specifically talks about the relationship between the United States and Israel. So how many of you all know that the United States and Israel has a 10-year memorandum of understanding that they operate on? Because I've heard some people say, why do we support Israel? Why are we doing this, that, and the other? We have a memorandum of understanding with Israel that we do it at 10 years at a time. Yep, we do it 10 years at a time. And yeah, so it's a memorandum of understanding. And so that means that it's a legally binding document. And what we do is we renegotiate it, we redo it every 10 years. And what's important to know is that the current memorandum of understanding that we have with Israel it ends in 2028. Okay, it ends in 2028. It was done in 2018, Chris Dewey. It ends in 2028. The Heritage Foundation has put out a document that that outlines taking our relationship with Israel from a special relationship to a quote unquote strategic partnership. I don't know how many of you all are aware of that, but it's a very real document that exists that is their playbook for where they want this relationship with Israel to go starting in 2029 and moving forward. So what we can do is, if I have time on this live, we can go into that document. If I don't have time in this live, we will go into it in tonight's live, if that works for you guys. Well, we don't have to. So Honeypot, we don't have to. We'll change the. So listen, that MOU, that memorandum of understanding is going to change regardless, because the 10 years will be up. We don't have to implement anything that the Heritage Foundation says if we don't want to, right? That's going to be up to the administration, and it's going to be up to the Congress that we have in place at that time, and what they do or don't let them get away with, right? That's what it amounts to. So I just wanted to mention that. No, it was done in 2018, so that would be under the Trump administration. It's done every 10 years. So 2018 would be under the Trump administration. That was the last one. Okay. All right. So what I want to talk about this morning. So listen, they wrote the playbook, but they're not in the position to implement it unless they're not in a position to implement the playbook unless the people that write it are put in positions to do that. So the people from Project 2025 are not sitting in Congress. They're not the federal judges, right? Those people currently have been put into the administration by Donald Trump, right? So what can you do? What you do is you have federal judges that uphold the Constitution. You have a strong campaign, and it has to be a strong information campaign. It has to be a strong call to action campaign so that you are able to flip the House and the seat for the midterms. And then what you will have is a Congress that puts the administration in check and keeps them from overstepping the bounds that they have, right? So before I dive into this next part, I'm going to ask you this. If you are new to my live, please put a 1 in the comments for me. If you're new to my live, put a 1 in the comments for me. I just want to share with you how I do things in this space so that you know. Because if you are used to lives where people scream at each other, call each other names, and all of that stuff, this is not the space for you. Okay. So I love to see all the new people, and let me share this with you. So in this live, I only ask for 4 things. I ask for you to be respectful. I ask for you to don't use slurs of any kind, and I don't care what side of any aisle you are on. If you use slurs, you will be muted and booted from this live. Number 3, don't spam my comments. What's up, Smile City? Okay. So what does that mean? It means if you want to say something like Hector just said, go Israel, but he's also said it like 3 times. Hector, we get it. You support Israel, right? You don't need to say the same thing over and over and over and over again, because it's not beneficial to the conversation in the chat. So don't spam my comments by saying the same thing over and over again. Got it? The last thing is don't type in all caps. And the reason why is because all caps is reserved for my moderators and from my folks that are vision impaired. So all I'm asking for you to do is to be a respectful human being, and for you to, behave in a way that would make your mama, your daddy, or whoever raised you proud. If you're not able to do that, this just simply isn't the space for you. And that's okay, because I am not for everyone. Got it? Great. Now we can move along. Okay. So I want to talk about this. It was filed on July 2nd. And this is the court case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. His full name is Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. And his wife is also listed on here, and his children are identified only by their initials because they are minors. And then, so just so that everybody is aware of that. And so this was provided. Now, one of the reasons why I'm going to skip over. So let me tell you the part that I'm going to skip over. So they are asking for injunctive relief and a declaratory judgment. I surely hope that they get a declaratory judgment. So a declaratory judgment means, listen, the judge can read all of this and just make a determination, and we don't got to have a hearing or whatever. They can just declare a thing to be so, right? That would be fucking fantastic. I would love that for them, right? But what I really want to do is I want to give you the part that I'm going to skip is the part that is called jurisdiction and venue. Thanks, Smile City. The reason I'm going to not read that part is because you don't need to know why the attorneys are saying this court has the jurisdiction and why this venue is appropriate. Mila, don't scream, okay, love? Talk softly. And you don't need for them to walk you through the parties. We know who the parties are to the court case, right? The procedural history, though, is where I want to start because it's really important. What, honey? Okay, you need help real quick? Okay, give me 1 second. She just needs me to help her get this. Literally, like 5 seconds, folks. Hey, remember, when you need help, you don't have to yell. You can just say, Tutu, I need help. Yeah. Got it? Okay. All done. Whoops, sorry, girl. Turn the light off on you. Good morning, girl. All right, so I'm back. Thank you guys for waiting and being patient. You all know that, and let me just explain this for those of y'all who are new to me. These are my grandbabies, and thanks, Smile City. And so my grandbabies are with me a lot. Why? Because we live in a country that favors corporations over people. So my daughter, although she was in the medical field, has to work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet, and childcare is ridiculously expensive in this country. So I watch them so that they are well taken care of, and she doesn't have to spend that money. And so you will hear them, Mila. Nope. And you're going to have to deal with it. And here's the reason why. My family will always come first. Number 2, we got work to do, and we can't wait for circumstances to be perfect to be about doing this work. So you will hear them sometimes. You will hear them sometimes asking for moodles. You might even hear Mila saying, Tutu, I want you to snuggle with me, which means she wants you to snuggle with me. You can hear all those things, and that's just the life that we live because we got to do the work. So I appreciate you all. And I know that my regular folks love the kiddos. I just am letting new folks know. Yeah. Because this is what real life looks like, people. This is how you know the DNC ain't paying me, because I'd be paying for daycare. This is how you know George Soros isn't funding me, because I got damn kids everywhere, right? This is how you know nobody is funding me, right? There's no professional setup back here. There's no Charlie Kirk setup, no Ben Shapiro setup, and none of that is happening. This is real. This is real life. This is what it looks like when you are simply a human being doing your best to help your country. That's what it looks like. So, all right, here we go. Let's get into this thing. Okay, you guys ready? So the procedural history is important, and I want to talk to you about it as I read it to you. Okay, so if you are reading along, this is the document that was filed by for backup. I don't know. Let me say this. So this was filed on July 2nd. You ready? Here it goes. Procedural history. On March the 24th, 2025, plaintiff Abrego Garcia filed his initial complaint and first motion for temporary restraining order against defendant Nome. That's the lady right there in the red hat, and others, right? The following day, on March the 25th, 2025, the plaintiff filed a second motion for temporary restraining order, okay? By no later than March the 31st, 2025, defendants admitted that the removal of the plaintiff Abrego Garcia was a, quote, administrative error. Now, I think that we all heard them say this out loud out of their own mouths. Their very first stance about his removal, right, was, be nice, you guys, was it's an administrative error. So anything they say after that is backtracking or flipping the script, right? Can we all agree there, right? So on April the 4th, 2025, so that would be 5 days later, right? The district court granted preliminary injunctive relief, ordering the government to, quote, facilitate the return of plaintiff Abrego Garcia in its ECF number 21, right? Now, we all remember there was a conversation about what does facilitate mean, right? We're going to talk about that word and how it was clarified, because how many of you all know that there was a clarifying order that was given? We're going to get there in just a second. You ready? So, point 22, defendants filed various stay motions, that's the government, all of which were denied by the district court and the Fourth Circuit. So district court and then the Fourth Circuit, which is the Court of Appeals, right? On April 7th, 2025, the defendants, which is the government, appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States. After a brief administrative stay on April 10th, the Supreme Court affirmed the district court's orders, noting only that the order to return Abrego Garcia by April 7th, 11:59 p.m. could no longer be effective because the deadline had passed, not for any other reasons other than the deadline had passed, because if the deadline was April 7th and they were issuing this on April 10th, it's an order that can't be effective, right? And then they stated that the term effectuate required further clarification from this court. Okay, so the Supreme Court further ordered the defendants, which is the government, to, quote, ensure that plaintiff Abrego Garcia's case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador, end quote. What does that mean? That means he's got to have due process. And that's what the Supreme Court said. Got it? That same day, the district court amended its order. And here's what they said. The district court, when they amended the order, it says to, quote, take all available steps to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States as soon as possible. So anybody that was arguing after April 10th that the government had no responsibility to bring him back ASAP, you're just wrong. Like, there's no other way to say that. You're incorrect, because the Supreme Court asked for clarification. The Supreme Court said you've got to do this as if he had never been removed in error. And that very same day, the district court clarified its order as directed by the Supreme Court. What's up, Rise Above? And what did they say? And this is very simple, very clear. Quote, take all available steps to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States as soon as possible. So any conversation after April 10th is moot. Doesn't matter. Got it? That's point 25 in the court papers. And for anybody that asks, no, I am not an attorney. And I am not giving legal advice. I'm reading a document and expounding upon what I'm reading. Just for everybody who knows, okay? So the very next day, on April 11th, the district court found that the defendants had failed to comply with its previous order and instituted daily reporting requirements. How many people knew that the DOJ, that the Department of Homeland Security, was to be providing daily reporting to the court as to what actions it was or it wasn't taking? So, despite that amended order and the daily reporting requirements, the defendants, which would be our government, failed to provide substantive information regarding steps taken toward compliance moving forward, right? So, point 27, although the defendants purported to comply with the district court's orders, high-level government officials made repeated pronouncements that, as detailed herein, suggested they had no intention of complying with the court's orders. Here's what I do love about this administration. And it's probably the only thing you're gonna ever hear me say that I love about them, is they love to run their mouths. And when you are doing court cases, you love people to talk. When you are going before a judge, you want somebody to run their mouths. And they do it all the time, right? We have a president that can't be kept from running his damn mouth. And so that is the one thing that I do love about these folks. They love the press and they love to talk. They love to brag. And that is good for legal court cases as they move through the legal system. Okay. So on between April 15th, yep, thank you, Sandy. Between April 15th, hold on, let me reset this. Hey, Mila, do you want to help me real quick? Please? Do you know what I want? Will you take my cup and get me some water, please?
This one cup.
Yeah, this cup right here.
This
Thank you, sissy.
cup is your duty.
She said no.
This cup is your duty.
Yes, that cup right there. Out of the mouths of babes, y'all. Out of the mouths of babes. But she's doing it. So sometimes, let me tell you what my oldest grandson says. He says, yep, I'm going to get there, Chris. I've got that on my list too. So let me tell you what my grandson will say. Where you at, baby? Oh, I do. So what I love about her fierceness, Edith, is she's never going to take shit from anybody. Listen, Lord help the person who dates her. You got it? Very good.
Drop it.
Yeah, you did a good job not dropping it.
I feel it like in a floor. Like
So let me tell you what my grandson will say. I will say, hey, Dominic, you want to help me for a second? And he'll say, do I want to or will I? Just that little bit, no more. He'll say, do I want to or will I? And I can't be mad at it because it's a real distinction. So just saying, do I want to? No, but will I? Yes. Can't be mad at the honesty, right? Okay, so between April 15th of 2025 and the present, the parties engaged in expedited discovery. So here's what I'm a fan of discovery. So you all know that the process of side has to provide their evidence to the other side. An expedited discovery means you can't drag your feet. You have to give it quickly as soon as you have it, and so forth and so on. So on June 6th, nearly 2 months after the Supreme Court's affirmation and without prior notice to this court or the plaintiffs, the defendants, which is our government, abruptly announced that they had returned plaintiff Abrego Garcia to the United States to face criminal indictment in Tennessee. Now, I find it very interesting that of all the states these charges could have ended up, they ended up in Tennessee. Because what I have witnessed from the state of Tennessee is a willingness to comply and support any absurdity that comes from this administration, right? So, yeah, so I'm going to get into what it is. It's supposed to be, I'll tell you what the charges are in just a second. Right, Cam, fuckery, right? So here we go. Okay, so here are the relevant legal doctrines. And this is where I may or may not read absolutely all of this. What's up, Patty Flanagan? Right, which it's true. It's not just that, listen, let me say this. It's not just that Tennessee is a quote unquote red state. What Tennessee is a non-voting state. In 2022, it's like 39% of the voters actually turned out to vote in 2022. They have a lot of places that are rural where there are no Democratic candidates to even run against the Republican candidates. So you end up having people that return to their seats because nobody's running against them, right? Yeah, there's a ton of that in the state of Tennessee. So what you have is, Rachel, let me know the policy that you have, the policy. So, yep. So what they have is a super majority Republican, a super majority with the GOP in the state legislature. And that is how Tennessee gets by with the things that it does. That is why Tennessee just got rid of its Civil Rights Commission. That is why there are about 1,000 cases that have been dismissed, and people have less than 90 days to get them refiled with the Attorney General's office. Mm-hmm. That is why Tennessee is exploring the option of using a rule. Cheryl, I want to talk to you about this one. Tennessee is exploring using an option. It's a rule that's available to them to quote unquote remove children with disabilities from classrooms if they perceive them to be disruptive. And so like there's when we talk about disabled children being at risk with changes to the Federal Department of Education, this is a real thing. So we'll talk more about it. We'll talk more about it afterwards because it's one of the things that I made a note to talk about. But I want to try to stay on the topic of immigration and Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case right now. Okay. All right. So withholding of removal. What does that mean? Withholding of removal simply says you're not a legal resident here, but you cannot be removed to go back to the country in which you came here from, right? That's what it means. And so here's what happens. So federal law prohibits the government from removing a non-citizen to a country where they are more likely than not to face persecution on account of a statutorily protected ground, like 8 USC 1231. This protection is typically referred to as, quote, withholding of removal. Okay? Guys, listen, don't engage with the trolls. Like I said, they can hang out here for a minute. And when I'm ready for them to go, I'll just say, all right, get rid of them. Okay. Don't engage with them. I'll let you know. And then we can ditch them when it's time because they're good for the algorithm. Okay. Just don't engage with them. Y'all just listen to what I'm saying. All right. So, for an immigration judge serving as the designee of defendant Bondi to grant withholding of removal to a non-citizen, the non-citizen must prove that he is more likely than not to suffer persecution. So I want you all to hear this part, okay? Grams, FACTS. That's how you spell facts. When you spell it FAX, that's the like thing that goes over electronic communication. You put it in a machine and it copies it and then it travels across and then it prints somewhere else. That's a fax. You're talking about two different things. I'm glad that I could be of help today. Okay. And let me just say this. Yes, words matter. So let me just say this. And Gramps, if you would like to discuss facts with me, feel free to request to come up here. And I'm more than willing to engage in that conversation with you. So yeah. Hey, Mila, don't play in the water, love. Girl, I hear the water running. You are. Okay, well, wash your hands and then be done. Okay. So, I'm Peggy Fink. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you're talking about. When you say they stopped the human rights decision in Tennessee, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Okay, so here we go. So let me keep going. All right. Remember, y'all, don't engage with the trolls. I got them. It's okay. Gramps can be frustrated if Gramps want to. Listen, okay, let me just say this. It is absolutely natural that Gramps would want to lash out at me because they used the wrong word and meant something different in front of 400 people and they're embarrassed. So it would be natural for them to lash out at me. Yeah. Yeah, Mila got me water and she spilled a little bit. Can you get the towel that's over there and just get it up? So, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay. I don't take it personal. Gramps doesn't know me. It's okay.
This one?
Yep. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So this is important. I want you all to understand that a withholding of removal has a burden of proof that has to be met in court. So in order for a federal judge, an immigration judge, thanks, teacups, in order for an immigration judge to grant a withholding of removal to a person that is not a citizen, they actually must prove that they are more likely than not to suffer persecution. And here's the quote from the statute. This is 8 CFR 1208-16B. Here's what it says. Quote, the burden of proof is on the applicant for withholding of removal to establish that his or her life or freedom would be threatened in the proposed country of removal on account of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. All right. So this is a standard. Yeah, the Human Rights Commission, because Tennessee has no interest in investigating and upholding the human rights of certain groups of people. So they got rid of this particular commission, and now it's all going to the Attorney General's office, even though they do not have the capacity or the ability to investigate all of them equitably, right, and thoroughly like they should. And they're not going to be able to do it without bias because they are actually for the state, right? Sure, Renee. The statute is 8 CFR 1208-16B, as in boy. All right, Mila, your hands are clean. Come out of the bathroom, please. You're welcome. All right, so if a non-citizen is granted withholding of removal, quote, DHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security, may not remove the alien to the country designated in the removal order unless the order of withholding is terminated. No exceptions lie. So what does that mean? That means there are no exceptions in this that are listed. So it's just flat out, you can't remove them to that country that's designated in that order unless that order is terminated. And it doesn't matter for what reason you think you should. It doesn't matter if you suspect that this person is affiliated with a gang. It doesn't matter if this person is here illegally. It doesn't matter. There's not a single exception to that rule. Once that judge issues that order, you cannot deport that person to that country unless that order is terminated. And in this case, it was not. Okay? Yeah. So, Peggy, what has to happen is the people whose cases were dismissed, those cases have to be refiled within 90 days from the termination. So, so people who had cases that were pending now have to refile those cases with the Attorney General's office, which means I would recommend looking for a civil rights attorney in order to do that. Okay. Good morning, Troy. Did you mean to request that?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No worries. I got you. All right. So hold on one second. Mila Ann. No more water. Mila, you're playing in the water. No more. So federal regulations provide a procedure. Yes, Nico, that's what she did. She dropped the cup. Yes. Well, if I say her full name, it's Mila Catalea Anais. That's her full name without her last name, because I'm not saying her last name, but that her full name is, she's 4 Hawaiian gentlemen. So her name is Mila Catalea Anais. So, Mila, I still hear the water. What's up, Inspirations by Leslie Ann? Thank you, guys. All right, so here we go. She's got one, Terry Bora, but when it's 97 degrees outside, you can't really do that. You know what I mean? All right, so here we go. So federal regulations provide a procedure by which a grant of withholding of removal issued by an immigration judge may be terminated. So there is a procedure if you want to terminate the withholding of removal, right? Be careful and put it on the towel, please. The DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, must move to reopen the removal proceedings before the immigration judge, and then DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, will bear the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence. Now, y'all listen, when we start to use these types of terminology, these are legal terms that have specific meaning based on precedent. All right. So when we say that the Department of Homeland Security has the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence, not their damn opinion, not some crooked police officer's statement, but by a preponderance of the evidence, that grounds for termination exist. And after a grant of withholding of removal is terminated, there would be no impediment to removal. So if the Trump administration had real evidence that would support the removal of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, all they would have to do is make a motion to reopen that case before an immigration judge. They would need to present that information to the court, to the immigration judge. The immigration judge would then say, listen, based on the preponderance of the evidence that you all presented to this court, it is clear that this individual needs to be removed, right? And can be removed. And then they would terminate it. And then it would happen. Got it? For me, and this is where I will insert a personal opinion here. You ready? What I believe is when there is a legal mechanism on how to accomplish a thing, And there are lawyers within the DOJ and DHS that know what that legal option is, what that legal remedy is, and you don't explore it, it means for me that you don't meet what is necessary to win the case, i.e., a preponderance of the evidence, right? You're not going to move to reopen the case if you can't win it. So then what do you do instead? You violate the Constitution and you violate someone's rights, which is what they did. So, an individual that has an order of withholding of removal to a particular country may only be removed to another country upon receiving notice and associated due process, including having an opportunity to apply for protection from removal to that third country. Now, why is that part important? That part is important because 90%, you're going back, fed, here, go back now, save yourself. Are you trying to write a full sentence? Like, are you trying to communicate a full thought, Born? Because when I read that 90%, you're going back, the your that you used is a possessive pronoun, right? If you were trying to say you are going back, then you would need like an apostrophe and an E, right? Going back, fed. I'm not a fed. So I'm so confused by your statement. First, don't do it in all caps because all caps is reserved for my moderators and for those that are vision impaired. Second, when you try to do it again and communicate what you want to say, just think of it like this. You're going to need a noun of some sort, a subject, right? You're going to need a verb, some sort of action, right? So that we understand what you're trying to say in the sentence. And in some cases, you might need punctuation if what you're trying to communicate is two complete thoughts. Okay. Yeah, this is exactly why we need Reading Rainbow. Mila Ann. Mila. Tutu doesn't want to put you in timeout, sissy. Please stay out of the water, okay? Just saying. All right. So why is this part necessary? Because there are a lot of people that believe that because the Supreme Court is allowing deportations to third countries, that means that it, Kilmar Abrego Garcia's salam, that his case is decided and that's what's going to happen. Here's the thing. You have to listen to this part. This is where due process comes in, people. This is where due process comes in. Even though you can deport people to third countries, they still have to have due process, which means they have to have an opportunity to apply from protection from removal to that third country, right? Because that's part of the associated due process. All right. Next. If a non-citizen who has been granted withholding as to one country faces removal to an alternative country, then they must be given notice and an opportunity to request withholding of removal to that particular country. And there's several court cases that they cite in this case. Okay. Yeah. An individual that has an order of withholding of removal to a particular country may not be removed to another country with the intent or prospect of, quote, chain refoulement. So chain refoulement means that they will subsequently be sent to the country for which they have an order of withholding of removal. So what are they saying here? They are saying that if you are going to remove them to a third country and not the country that they have a withholding of removal for, but it's really just a workaround because after you send them to the third country, then you get to send them to the first country, right? then that's the problem. So, well, Jared, first you have to understand and meet the requirements for expedited deportation. Do you know what those are? Jared, I've invited you to come to the panel. You bring up a great point, and I would love for people to understand the process that you're talking about. Because expedited removal has been used by lots of people, including Barack Obama. My question to you is, do you know what the requirements are for expedited deportation? And it's called expedited removal, actually. It's not expedited deportation, it's expedited removal. Do you know what the requirements are? Again, I didn't ask you about the presidents. I know the presidents that have used it. I asked you, Jared, are you familiar with what has to happen to use expedited removal? Because Trump actually modified it, right, during his first administration. But do you know what has to be present in order for you to use expedited removal? I'll wait for you. And then for the folks that are listening, I'll go ahead and pull up the information for them. Oh. Jared, I don't see you coming up. Hello, Jared, where are you? No, it doesn't, Merlot. Expedited removal does not require due process. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But there are certain that it doesn't apply to every unauthorized immigrant. It doesn't apply to that. And this is what's important, folks. When you come into my space and you use a term that you think you understand the meaning, I'm going to need you to be able to articulate what it is that you're quoting, because if you don't know, you might not want to be quoting it. It is beneficial to actually know what the fuck you're talking about before you talk it. And yes, that was a little snarty, but I'm being a little, snarky because he came in here running his jaws and then didn't want to get up on the panel. Shut up, Mr. Barrios. Joe Woods, you just looked it up? Yeah. And maybe that's what Jared is doing, but let me just kind of let you know what it is. All right. So this is the way that expedited removal is currently applied. Listen. Initially, the application of expedited removal was limited to non-citizens who arrived at a port of entry. Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, he dipped, cats. But in 2002, the government expanded the reach, right, to apply to non-citizens who entered by sea without inspection. So then it was ports of entry or by sea without inspection. But then 2 years later, it was expanded to also apply to those who had crossed the border without inspection and were encountered by immigration authorities within two important things: within 2 weeks of their arrival and within 100 miles of the border. So for 10 years, that's what expedited removal meant. So in order to use expedited removal for a non-citizen, they had to have been within 100 miles of the border, and they had to have been here 2 weeks or less. If they could prove that they had been here longer than 2 weeks, then they were entitled to due process, and expedited removal could not be used. That's how it existed for 10 years after that, okay? And then it was expanded. So it happened, you guys probably have guessed this, right? It was under Trump. So from June 2020 through March of 2022, and then again in January of this year to right now, immigration officers have been authorized to apply expedited removal to any non-citizen who arrived at a port of entry at any time and is determined to be inadmissible for fraud or misrepresentation or lacking proper entry documents, and any non-citizen who entered without inspection by land or sea, was never admitted or paroled, is encountered anywhere in the United States, not just within those 100 miles, and cannot prove that they have been physically present in the United States for the 2 years preceding the officer's determination that they are inadmissible for fraud or misrepresentation or lack of proper entry documents. So there are a few narrow protections like seeking asylum and things like that, but that is, oh, and here you're back. Now I see you waited until after I gave you the answer, Born, but you opened up another great conversation. You said, FYI, come legal. So could you join the panel and share with me what are the legal ways to come into this country, Born 86? What are the legal ways to come into this country? Because I would assume that you would know them, right? Since you say come legal. And this is going to be your last opportunity. So you either join this panel, right, in the next 2 minutes, or you will get deported from my live. I couldn't resist. You don't have the proper papers to be in this live without due process. Are you coming, Born?
Dani's deportation team seems to be in full effect.
100%.
Out there.
Listen, you come in here quoting things and you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to ask you to, like, come on, let's talk about it. And so, yeah, you could be deported from my live expeditiously, expedited removal from my live. And I even gave you due process. The process was an opportunity to come before the judge, and you declined. You had an opportunity to present your case, to provide your evidence, but it turns out you don't know shit, and you have no evidence, like the Department of Homeland Security. The Haitians' protections have been stayed, and it has been deemed by the court that they their right to be here will go back to the original, which is through February of 2026. So although they attempted to remove the temporary protected status of the Haitians, the court overruled. Thanks, Megan. You're welcome. All right. What's up, Guido?
I couldn't stay in last night. I tried to go to business with you, but you had way too much energy for me, and I had to hit the sack.
Yeah.
I did have one question for you. You mentioned last night about Trump eliminating like 3 departments or 3 categories or something like that.
Yep.
And what caught my ear of that was, if people aren't aware, Supreme Court 8-1 gave Trump the green light to reorganize and restructure the government any way that he sees fit, including up to terminations. That was SCOTUS's ruling with Jackson. Supreme Court Justice Jackson was the only dissent. Would that green lights him? So I'm just trying to figure out, are those 3 departments would that fall under that Supreme Court ruling and no one could do anything?
Nope. And I'll tell you why. Yes, baby.
Okay.
You want muffins?
Well, you said the other night you said that we were gonna get ice cream.
We will get it today, girl. I got you.
I'm
Ice
sorry
cream
if
today.
this was covered.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't covered. We will get ice cream after physical therapy today. Got it.
Well, I would love to be part of that.
Bella said, you said we was going to get ice cream yesterday and then we didn't. Girl, I got it. So here's what Judo's question is. All right. So, and that's the other court case that I have for us to talk about. So, so when the Supreme Court says that they can restructure, yes, baby. Yes, you can. Let me grab this for her really quick. No, not ice cream for breakfast. Ice cream after physical therapy. That's what that is. Mila Ann, if you're in the water, you're going to be in trouble. Hey, get the towel, girl. Don't come running out here now trying to hide. Right. Here, Bella. Hey, Mila, I need you to get a towel right there because if I fall and bust my ass, we're gonna have a problem on water. Here. Bella, is that funny? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so let me explain the difference between these two things. I'm just saying, y'all, she got water on the floor. Huh? Okay. All right, so let me tell you all this. Okay, so when we talk about restructuring the federal government, that means you can you can change the names of offices, you can move certain positions so that they no longer have union protections, you can do mass layoffs, but you can't effectively dissolve these three organizations because they were created by Congress and they were allocated specific money by Congress for oversight of these agencies. And so that's going to be the difference, right? So when you talk about restructuring, so when it comes to policy and administration stuff, sure. But what they were saying here would have effectively dissolved them entirely. And they're not able to do that. Yes, baby. Now, let's say they wanted to fire like 80% of the staff so that work doesn't get done. They could do that. But they can't effectively dissolve it because yeah, 1 second. Because Congress created these three offices. So the Mila, you're starting to be too much. So what the executive branch can't do is get rid of something that Congress created. Only Congress can do that. And so that's the problem with them trying to get rid of these. That is why the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization, the Southern Border Communities Coalition, and the Urban Justice Center, all of those are the ones that filed the lawsuit. So does that answer your question, Judo?
Yes, it does. It does. So it falls in line like the Department of Education.
Yep.
Which but he can effectively shut it down by terminating or moving the people around, or
he can do his best to do that, but it depends on what these organizations do in court, right? And what this judge ends up saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we'll see. This is an ongoing case. I just looked up the status of it yesterday.
Right.
It's still.
I mean, that was the most concerning thing was that, did Supreme Court give, and I think there could be an argument made that yes, it's given the executive branch probably a little bit more power than probably what founders intended to do, because we're supposed to have
100%.
branches.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like it just felt like it gave them another powerful step over Congress.
It did.
It starts tilting the scale a little bit in their direction.
Agreed.
In the executive branch. And that's what was like, wow, could he restructuring or reorganization, I guess, is one thing versus actually closing down congressional mandated branches of the government or components of the federal government, which is control the power of the purse.
Yes,
which is
and
Congress.
right,
I caught that story, and I went over the Supreme Court hearing and their opinion, and then when I heard that last night, I was like, wow. I said, I wonder if that's a good question to ask because,
yep.
That 8-1 ruling. While I was shocking that some of the,
that Sotomayor.
Yeah, the liberal judges went over there. What was in that presentation to the Supreme Court that says, hey, wow, it was just really, really an unusual time to see that. It was very rare, It's usually 6'3", 5'4", something like
100%.
that.
Yep.
But 8'1", rare.
Yes. And so it just makes you, again, so this is the thing that I keep pointing out to people is we are at a time where I think that people need to come here, please. No, come here, please. Come here. Come right here. You don't swing that around. You almost hit your sister in her face. And if you hit her in the face with that, you're going to go in timeout. And then when your mommy gets off work, you're going to go to mommy's house because we don't hit.
Okay.
So, she was swinging beads around, like think Mardi Gras beads. They're actually Dominic's graduation beads. So, and they missed Bella's face by this much, and she's swinging them around and turning around in circles. And I could just see, like the exasperation. Okay, yeah. So this is going to be about federal employees, right? But so I just want people to really understand something, because people will talk about the Democrats. I was having this conversation earlier today. I need people to understand that amongst the Democratic Party, you've got people that are Dixiecrats still. Amongst the Democratic Party, you have people that are rich as fuck and they want their tax cuts. Amongst the Democratic Party, you have people that are Christian nationalists. That's a fact, right? Those things exist also within the Supreme Court, amongst other things. And so I just want us to remember that just because we identify someone as typically a liberal judge, it doesn't mean they don't have other interests and other reasons for doing the things that they do. And I don't have an expectation, if you will, Judo, of anyone doing the quote unquote right thing. And it does not surprise me. Let me just say this, and some of you all might not like it, and I won't give a damn. But I am not surprised that it is a Black woman being the only one to do the damn right thing and take all the fucking heat, because we've been doing it for quite a long time, especially in this country.
Agreed. I agree. No argument there. I just, just looking at, just trying to find out the merits of how they came to that decision and it's only 24 hours old, right? It just came out. But I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what's going to go bye-bye now? Because there's just unchecked power, in my opinion, in as far as the organization, the government is now confirmed. It's not, he can do whatever he wants. You're fired. It's like his show that he had.
The Apprentice.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Just people just walking up into the Oval Office and you're fired.
But he did that in the first term, right? He did that in his first term. He fired people that disagreed with him left and right. But here's my thing. I think that, again, for me, when I look at this, that is a circle number 3 for me, Judo. I can't do shit about that executive order or the restructuring of the federal government other than continue to put pressure of the people on the people that are sitting in Congress to do their damn job and take their power back. Like, that's the requirement, And so, like, for me, I can't spend a ton of time on that side of it. I have to be aware of it. I have to know that it exists, but at the same time, I have to focus on what we have to be doing in the meantime, right? So, yeah.
I agree.
And at some point, I will tell you this: all of the people that support this administration for their various reasons, they keep bumping into each other because they don't always agree. And I think that is going to be something that we will see a lot of. So, and it'll be interesting.
100%.
Yeah.
I see you added to the team from last night. You got old Cancun Cruz.
Yep.
You got old Naomi out there, and of course Ilana hanging out there. Mr. I'm going to start the American Party.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Added to your roster.
Yeah. Yep, everybody. So, because she definitely plays a factor in the court case. Because I'm literally reading the Kimar Abrego Garcia's court filing from last week before we talk about what the judge said on Monday in this case. So, yeah, she's horrible. And I did see this morning. I saw Cheryl put it in here. I wasn't going to bring it up until later, but I did see today that there's now flooding in New Mexico as well. That has resulted in unalivings, including 2 children. So that's happening right now in New Mexico, as well as what we currently have going on in Texas. So just so people are aware. Mila, girl, stop. Listen. I don't care what Bella did. Stop screaming. Listen, we're not screaming because she's not playing Roblox with you. Children. But anyway, yeah. But no. So yeah, I appreciate you. Feel free to hang out if you want to, or let me know if you need me to drop you. And I'm gonna dig back into to this. All right, here we go. So I told y'all, don't feed the trolls. Harry Duda. How can I say this? Harry, if you would like to ask me a question and get an answer, feel free to request up and I'll be happy to have a discussion with you. But as long as you want to hang out in the comments and be a mediocre man that, pretends to be a keyboard warrior, you go ahead and do that, right? I don't know why you would wake up and choose to be someone that would disappoint your mother, but by all means, flex, Harry, flex. All right, let's go, people. You ready? So again, what we were talking about is if you plan to deport someone to a third country that is different than the country that they have an order of withholding of removal from, right? You cannot do that. You cannot do that if it is basically a sham to send that person to that third country, only to have that third country turn around and send them back to the same country in which they have the order of removal. Okay. So just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. What's up, Jedi? Good afternoon. What you got for me? I don't look, Jedi, you're not connecting. Which it just depends on if the others that are in CCOT, what their court cases look like and what their attorneys are doing. So he's the only plaintiff in this case because his is a very specific, very specific case. So like, I can't tell you that the other folks that are at CCOT had an order of withholding from removal. I don't know that, right? And so that's the part that makes it different. If they did not have a withholding of removal order, if they didn't have an order that said that they could not be deported, then they have a much stickier situation, even though they didn't have due process, because it depends on if there's an attorney that is representing those individuals. Yeah, 100%. It's right to be concerned. So an individual with an order of withholding of removal to a particular country may not be removed to another country with the intent or prospect of quote unquote chain refoulement, which is what I described to you. Okay. Federal law also places restrictions on removal of aliens to countries to which they have no connection or a country to where their quote unquote life or freedom would be threatened. Right. Likewise, the CAT law, which is the Convention Against Torture, as implemented in U.S. law through the Foreign Affairs Reform and Restructuring Act, prohibits defendants from removing an individual to any country where such individual is more likely than not to face torture by or at the acquiescence of the government, right? And the CAT also prohibits refoulement, which is what we already discussed, right? Yeah, Uncle Hippie, we just went over exactly what expedited removal has been expanded to and what all it actually includes. So this is the part where I want you all to listen to what occurred. Give me 1 second. Ha. I want to go to the facts of the case. Are you guys ready? So plaintiff Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador and no other country. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia is not a member of and has no affiliation with the MS folks or any other criminal or street gang. Although plaintiff Abrego Garcia has been accused, why do they have a typo in this damn thing? I'm kind of pissed that I'm reading the lawyer's paperwork filed in court and there's a typo. I need paralegals and interns and first year law students to do your job. And it's his name. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Although plaintiff Abrego Garcia has been accused of general gang affiliation, the U.S. government has never produced credible evidence supporting this accusation, and there has been no finding made by any judicial tribunal of any such affiliation. Prior to April of 2025, plaintiff Abrego Garcia had no criminal history, separate and apart from his May 21st, 2025 Tennessee indictment. He has never been charged or convicted of any criminal charges in the United States, in El Salvador, or in any other country. Why is that important? Because we're supposed to be getting rid of criminals, right? So we went over this before, but we're going to go over it right now, right? So Mech, you have 6,600 followers. Come join the panel. You have enough people following you, listening to you, that you should be able to get up here and have this conversation. Where you at, Mac? That's what I thought. Come in here and talk all that shit and then just be quiet as hell. You beg for attention, and then when I give it to you, you just sit there looking crazy. I don't know that he's about with 6,000 followers. But anyway. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia left El Salvador when he was around 16 years old, fleeing gang violence. Beginning around 2006, those members stalked, hit, and threatened to kidnap and unalive him in order to coerce his parents to succumb to their increasing demands for extortion. His parents were small business owners. Sometime around 2011, plaintiff Abrego Garcia entered the United States without inspection. He then made his way to the state of Maryland, where his older brother, who is a U.S. citizen, resided. In the United States, plaintiff Abrego Garcia has only ever resided in Maryland. Around 2016, plaintiff Abrego Garcia met plaintiff Jennifer Vasquez Sura, also a U.S. citizen, with 2 U.S. citizen children from a prior relationship. So Darlene, we don't refer to it that in here. We call it a concentration camp because that's what it is. Over time, they became close and eventually became romantically involved. This talks about their relationship, and then they got married in December of 2018. All right. So listen to this. So they get married in 2018, and then this happens on March 28th, 2019. So that would be 8 years after he's been here. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia went to a Home Depot in Hyattsville, Maryland, to solicit employment. When he arrived, he joined 3 other young men who were also at Home Depot soliciting employment, 2 of whom he recognized from prior occasions at the Home Depot, though he had never interacted with them in any other context. At 2:27 p.m., while the 4 of them were chatting, a detective from the Hyattsville City Police approached the group. The detective did not speak to plaintiff Abrego Garcia, but only one of the other men. Soon thereafter, officers from Prince George County Police Department arrived on the scene and proceeded to handcuff all 4 young men, including plaintiff Abrego Garcia. Yes. What? I want you to, that? You can do it now or you can do it before we go to physical therapy. It's up to you. At no point did police explain why they were arresting plaintiff Abrego Garcia, nor was plaintiff Abrego Garcia ever charged with any crime. This was plaintiff Abrego Garcia's first and only time in state custody. Why is this part important? Y'all, why would people be randomly rounded up, arrested, or detained, taken to a police station with no explanation as to why they were being arrested and not charging them with any crime? I want you all to be clear that he was never charged with a crime when he was, quote unquote, arrested, right, at this Home Depot. Exactly. He was profiled. And let me tell you, the only people who are okay with this are people who believe that they can't and won't ever be profiled. You hear me? At the police station, the 4 young men were placed into different rooms and questioned. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was asked if he was a G member. When he told police that he was not, they said they did not believe him and repeatedly demanded that he provide information about other G members. The police told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that he would be released if he cooperated. And he said, I can't cooperate because I don't have any information to give, because he did not know anything. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was then transferred to another room and told that ICE officers would be coming to take him into federal immigration custody. And eventually ICE officers arrived and took plaintiff Abrego Garcia into detention. The following day, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was served with a notice to appear, commencing removal proceedings against him pursuant to 8 U.S.C. 1229A. He was charged as removable pursuant to 8 U.S.C. 1182 A6AI, and no other charges. There were no other charges. No, Brina, this is 2019, not the other case. So I want to be clear. This is about what happened in 2019. This is from his original immigration proceedings when he was granted withholding from removal. Okay. So that's what this is. These are the actual court documents. I just downloaded them because I'm a print person. But I believe if I haven't already put the link in my link tree, I'll throw it in there in just a minute. Okay. So this is where it gets really interesting, you guys, because there was no other charges. On April the 24th of 2019, plaintiff Abrego Garcia appeared for his first hearing in immigration court. Through counsel, he moved for release on bond pursuant to 8 U.S.C. 1226A, submitting over 70 pages of evidence in support thereof. So I want you all to hear me. He wanted to be released on bond and was able to provide 70 pages of evidence that supported that. ICE opposed a change in custody status, arguing that plaintiff Abrego Garcia presented a quote unquote danger to the community because local police had purportedly quote unquote verified that he is an active G member. Listen to this part. In support thereof, ICE offered a G field interview sheet, a GFIS, generated by the police department. The GFIS explained that the only reason to believe plaintiff Abrego Garcia was a G member was that he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie, and that a confidential informant advised that he was an active member of the MS G people, with the Westerns clique. Now, this is a specific component of the MS people. It's the Westerns clique. The GFIS had been entered into the police database at 6:47 p.m., 4 hours after the police met him for the first time. I want y'all to hear me. They met the man and then said that the reason they picked him up was because of this GFIS sheet from a confidential informant that proved he was a member, but yet they didn't put it into the police system until they had already met and arrested him. According to the Department of Justice and the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, the Westerns clique that they say he's part of operates in Brentwood, Long Island, in New York, a state that plaintiff Abrego Garcia has never lived in. Never lived in. The attorney for plaintiff Abrego Garcia subsequently made multiple attempts to obtain additional information from law enforcement concerning these allegations. The police indicated that it did not have any incident report related to the Home Depot episode at all, nor did the department have any incident reports containing his name. So I want to be clear. You've got the attorney asking for information from law enforcement about these allegations, and law enforcement is saying, we don't have anything in our system. We don't have anything in here that something happened at the Home Depot. We don't have any incident reports with his name on it. So this is why this matters for those of you all who are like, oh, I'm a citizen, it doesn't matter. They can, if they can make this shit up about him, they can make it up about anybody, and in fact, in some cases, have been proven to do just that. This has happened to other people, and not just around immigration. The Hyattsville City Police Department, on the other hand, confirmed that it had an incident report for the Home Depot incident, but only 3 people were named in that incident, and plaintiff Abrego Garcia was not one of them, nor did it have any other incident reports with his name in its database. His attorney also contacted the original police department inspector general requesting to speak with the detective who authorized the GFIS sheet, but was informed, get this, that detective who filled out that sheet based on his quote unquote confidential informant had been suspended and was unavailable to be spoken with. A request to speak with other officers in the G unit was declined by the police department. Upon information and belief, the detective was suspended for passing confidential information to a Schmex worker. And they include that in Exhibit A. On June 25th of 2019, plaintiff Vasquez Sura, that's his wife, and plaintiff Abrego Garcia were married in the Howard Detention Center. So they had to get married in an immigration detention center. She was in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy at the time. Due to a pre-existing condition, her pregnancy was categorized as high risk. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia subsequently filed an I-589 application for asylum, withholding of removal and protection under the CAT Act with the Baltimore Immigration Court, and was scheduled for an individual hearing. His individual hearing spanned over 2 days, August 9th of 2019 and August 27th of 2019. In advance of this hearing, Abrego Garcia, through his counsel, filed a motion for a subpoena to require the appearance of 2 police detectives and any evidence substantiating his alleged G membership. In addition, through his counsel, They submitted a legal brief and a voluminous evidentiary filing establishing his eligibility for protection and contesting the unfounded allegation of G membership levied against him. Sissy, not so loud, please. On August the 9th of 2019, the attorney for ICE indicated on the record that ICE had conferred with its law enforcement partners and all the evidence and intelligence they had was contained in that one GFIS sheet submitted by the detective that was suspended. And that's the only evidence they had. Mila, not so loud, sis. Oh, my Lord. So as a result, they said that a subpoena was unnecessary. On August 11th of 2019, plaintiff Vasquez Sura, that's his wife, gave birth to the couple's son. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was unable to witness the birth of his son as he remained detained, awaiting to continue the second part of his hearing. The baby was born with microtia, which is a congenital malformation of the external ear, which resulted in an underdeveloped ear, and testing later confirmed that his little boy is deaf in his left ear. On October 10th of 2019, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was granted withholding of removal pursuant to 8 U.S.C. 1232 B3A after the immigration judge agreed that he had established it was more likely than not that he would be persecuted by G's in El Salvador because of protected ground. Yeah, I don't believe that you're a real person. So I'm going to give you like literally 30 seconds. Eloise, be a man like the one that you have in the picture. Be a brave man and come talk that shit on my panel. I'll be nice, I promise. Although, as you can tell, you irritated me because you just sound ignorant. But come on up in here. Let's talk about it. While you in there wearing a damn shirt that's commonly referred to as a wife beater. Get the fuck out of here. I know he does, Renee. Somebody can go ahead and block his ass. Okay, so next. So here's what's funny is that when this happened and he was given the withholding of removal order, ICE did not appeal the grant of relief. They could have appealed it right then if they believed he was such a danger. They did not. Thank you, Cam. So he was promptly released from custody on supervised release. Now check this out, you guys. At no point has the government ever sought to reopen this removal proceeding or seek to challenge or rescind the withholding order. Never. In addition, listen to this. In addition, he has had to he's had to report to ICE every year, which he has done. When he went home to his wife and children, they continued to reside in Prince George's County, Maryland. In addition to hearing problems, that child, his son, who is now 5 years old, is also intellectually disabled and has a speech disorder. To this day, he is unable to verbally communicate, and in October 2024 was diagnosed with autism. Both parents work to support their family of 5. Now, let me give you this part. I want you to remember that we are now talking about a little boy that is 5 years old, that is nonverbal, that is deaf in one ear, and intellectually disabled. I want you to hear that that's the son that we are talking about. You ready? Because some more stuff happens. So before he was unlawfully removed, Abrego Garcia was a union member and was employed full-time as a first-year sheet metal apprentice. In addition, he had been pursuing his own sheet metal license at the University of Maryland. As a condition of his withholding of removal status, Abrego Garcia is required to check in with ICE once a year and has been fully compliant. He appeared for his most recent check-in on January 2nd, 2025 without incident. I want y'all to hear me. He was checking in every single year with ICE and checked in January 2nd of this year. Separate and apart from the May 21st, 2025 Tennessee indictment, plaintiff Abrego Garcia has never been arrested or charged with any crime in the U.S. or in El Salvador. There remains no known link or association between him and the MSG group or any other G group, and no judicial tribunal has found any such link or association exists. Now listen to what happened. You ready? In the early afternoon of Wednesday, March 12, 2025, after completing a shift as a sheet metal worker apprentice at a new job site in Baltimore, Abrego Garcia picked up his 5-year-old son from his grandmother's house. While driving with his son, who, remember, is nonverbal, autistic, and intellectually disabled, as well as deaf in one ear. While driving with his son in the back seat, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was pulled over by ICE officers acting at the direction and under the supervision of Defendant Baker's predecessor in office. Mila, quiet, babe. One ICE officer who identified himself as part of Homeland Security investigations told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that his quote-unquote status had changed. Within minutes, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was handcuffed and detained in one of several ICE vehicles on the scene. His wife was called and instructed to appear at their location within 10 minutes to get their 5-year-old son. Otherwise, the ICE officers threatened that the child would be handed over to Child Protective Services. The ICE officers who carried out this vehicle stop and subsequent arrest did not have a warrant, nor did they have any articulable reason to believe that plaintiff Abrego Garcia would flee before a warrant could be obtained. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia's supervised release was not revoked by the Executive Associate Commissioner nor by the District Director, nor did reasons exist to believe that circumstances did not reasonably permit referral of the case to the Executive Associate Commissioner. Give me 1 second, folks. Okay. Give me 1 second, folks. I want to finish this part before I take folks in. After his wife arrived at the scene, she was able to briefly talk with plaintiff Abrego Garcia, who appeared confused, distraught, and crying. Moments later, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was driven away. No explanation was provided to his wife as to why her husband was detained, where he was going, or what was happening. Almost immediately after plaintiff Vasquez Sura left with her son, she began to try and locate Mila. I love that you're laughing, sissy, but laugh a little quieter, okay? She began trying to find him within the ICE detainee locator system and by calling various immigration detention centers and facilities. Upon information and belief, between Wednesday, March 12th and Saturday, March 15th, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was moved to various different locations across the country. The evening after his arrest, his wife received a phone call from him. At that time, he was in Baltimore, where he had been brought immediately after his arrest for interrogation. During that conversation, he informed his wife that he was being questioned about G affiliations. He repeatedly informed his interviewers that he was never a G member and had no G affiliations. He was shown several photos where he appeared in public and he was asked about other people in the photos, but he did not know those people and was unable to provide any information on them. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia also told his wife that he had been told that he understood that he would go before an immigration judge and then be released. Following his interrogation in Baltimore, officers instructed Plaintiff Abrego Garcia to sign documents without adequate explanation of their contents or legal significance. He was subsequently placed with approximately 10 other detainees and transported to the BWI airport. At no time was Plaintiff Abrego Garcia informed as to the reasons why his supervised release was revoked, nor given the opportunity to be heard by means of the required interview as to why it should be restored. Despite Plaintiff Abrego Garcia's repeated assertions that he possessed a valid employment authorization document, officials disregarded this information and placed him on a flight to Louisiana. In Louisiana, he explicitly requested to speak with an ICE agent. When granted this opportunity, he clearly communicated that he had received judicial relief and that he needed to speak with a judge. The ICE agent falsely assured Plaintiff Abrego Garcia that he would not be deported to El Salvador, but rather was being transported to Texas to appear before a judge. Relying on this misrepresentation, Plaintiff Abrego Garcia cooperated with further transport. Consistent with this account, Plaintiff Vasquez Sura, which is his wife, received a call from him on the evening of March 13th. He told his wife that he believed he was in Louisiana, but wasn't sure because he'd been moved around so many times. He advised his wife that he was very confused. However, he was still being assured falsely, that he would soon be brought before an immigration judge. In an attempt to ascertain his actual location and find further information about his arrest and detention, his wife oh my God. Either bring your ass on this panel, Birdie, or you're about to be muted and booted. I sent you a direct invitation. You can follow instructions. Just click accept and come on. If you are a real person with a real interest in having this conversation, join the panel. If not, you're going to be muted and booted because you're not here for any real constructive purpose. That's what I thought. If you all see that individual again, Birdie from Texas, go ahead and mute and boot that ass. Appreciate it. In an attempt to ascertain his actual location and find further information about his arrest and detention, his wife called different detention centers trying to speak to someone. She recalls one brief conversation where she was told that, quote, El Salvador was asking for him, end quote. Her attempts to protest by explaining that he had won protection from being removed to El Salvador fell on deaf ears. Upon arrival in Texas, officers separated Plaintiff Abrego Garcia and 4 to 5 other Salvadorians from the remaining passengers. They were confined to a stationary bus for an entire day while officials awaited for additional deportees to arrive. He overheard ICE agents discussing plans to transport detainees to CCOT in El Salvador. This is the first time that he learned that officials had been misleading him about being brought before a judge and that they instead intended to deport him. Around 11 a.m. on Saturday, March 15th, 2025. Don't fake cry, Mila. I saw you kicking too. Then get one. He was able to inform his wife at 11 a.m. that morning that he was being held by ICE at the East Hidalgo Detention Center in La Villa, Texas. and that they were going to deport him to El Salvador. The following morning, he asked his wife to contact his mother so that their family could get him from CCOT, because that's where he was told that they were sending him, right? The following morning, officials processed Abrego Garcia through a crowded office, calling detainees individually and loading them onto buses. The transport caravan proceeded to the airport under significant security, including helicopter surveillance. At the airport, multiple federal agencies were present, including FBI, DEA, and ICE personnel. Throughout this entire process, Abrego Garcia continuously informed officials that he possessed legal permission to remain and work in the United States until 2029 and had been granted withholding of removal. He repeatedly requested judicial review. Officials consistently responded with false assurances that he would see a judge, deliberately misleading him to prevent him from taking actions to ascertain his legal rights. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate you. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia only realized the true nature of his dire situation upon arrival at the airport in El Salvador, at which point it was too late to challenge the unlawful deportation. All right. Now, this is the part Jesus. All right. These are the pages that I want to get through. Water, red hot. All right. So this is the part. Listen to me. This is the part that if you have loved ones that have been deported, if you know of people that are currently being rounded up, this is the part that may be triggering or hard to listen to. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of a warning ahead of time. Girls, don't talk so loud. Before no charges at all, Laura. Because now we're going to talk about what happened in El Salvador and what happened to him inside of CCOT. On Sunday, March 16th, his wife was sent a photo from a news article discussing the deportation of alleged Venezuelan G members that were deported without a hearing. The photo showed men kneeling on the ground with their shaved heads bowed and their arms over their head. Their faces were not visible. Upon inspection, she identified one of these men as plaintiff Abrego Garcia based on her husband's 2 scars on his head and personally selected unaffiliated and distinctive tattoos. For the next few days, the ICE detainee locator continued to indicate that plaintiff Abrego Garcia was located at the East Hidalgo Detention Center, even though staff at that detention center told his wife that he had left on Saturday. Watching the news, plaintiff Vasquez Sura was horrified to see more photos of CCOT prisoners that included her husband and a video from where plaintiff Abrego Garcia was frog walked through the CCOT prison. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia's family subsequently hired a lawyer in El Salvador who has confirmed that plaintiff Abrego Garcia is in fact being held at CCOT. To date, there are no known criminal charges levied against plaintiff Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security took no steps to reopen the removal case of plaintiff Abrego Garcia, nor to challenge or rescind his withholding order. Defendants, including defendants Known, Lyons, Janello, and the predecessor in office of defendant Baker decided to deport plaintiff Abrego Garcia without following the law. They did so knowing and having arranged and intended that the government of El Salvador would detain plaintiff Abrego Garcia in CCOT immediately upon arrival. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia had exhausted all administrative remedies. No administrative remedies were available to Abrego Garcia precisely because the defendants made the choice to unlawfully forego proceedings before an immigration judge, which would entail a right to administrative review before the Board of Immigration Appeals and then a petition for review to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. On March 15th, 2025, the defendants, which is our government, deported 261 non-citizens, including 238 Venezuelan nationals and 23 Salvadorian nationals, to El Salvador without going through any legal process whatsoever in front of an immigration judge. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was one of those 23 Salvadorian nationals who were sent to the country's mega prison CCOT, which is called the, quote, Terrorism Confinement Center. Upon information and belief, all defendants are aware that the government of El Salvador tortures individuals detained in CCOT. Indeed, U.S. President Donald Trump has made comments to the press expressing glee and delight at the torture that the government of El Salvador inflicts upon detainees in CCOT. CCOT conditions have garnered attention from human rights organizations. Each of the 256 cells is intended to hold approximately 80 inmates, but often holds nearly double that. The cramped cells are equipped with tiered metal bunks without mattresses. What happened, Mila? Come here. Bella, did you scratch your sister? Come here, Mila. And Bella, do you want to know how I know that you did? And how I know that she didn't scratch you first? Because you aren't denying it and you're not saying she did it first. Let me see. Where are you scratched? Show me. Okay. Don't scratch and don't hit.
I wasn't trying to.
Well, you say that you weren't trying to. Stop, Mila, hush. Don't touch each other. Don't reach towards each other.
Mila showed me which game. My oldest one, I said, you can play it on your phone.
Okay.
Because she was going to tap it on the iPad.
Mila, don't reach over there to tap her stuff. You keep your hands away from Bella. I'm kind of glad they give us a little relief from the heaviness of this conversation, you know. Sorry, here we go. CCOT conditions have garnered attention from human rights organizations. Each of the 256 cells is intended to hold approximately 80 inmates, but often holds nearly double. They included in Exhibit F, and it says the cramped cells are equipped with tiered metal bunks without mattresses, 2 basins for washing, and 2 open toilets. There are no windows, no fans, or air conditioning, despite the region's warm and humid climate. Inmates in CCOT are confined to their cells for 23 and a half hours a day and cannot go outdoors. They are denied access to reading materials, including letters from friends or family. Inmates are prohibited from receiving visits from family and friends. Meals are provided through the bars, and the facility enforces strict regulations to maintain order. In May of 2023, Cristasol, which is a leading human rights organization in El Salvador, released a comprehensive report detailing severe human rights abuses within the country's prison system, especially CICAT. The investigation documented the unalivings of 153 inmates March 27th of 2022 and March 27th of 2023. So in 1 year, 153 inmates unalived in CICAT, attributing many of those unalivings to torture, beatings, mechanical asphyxiation, which is strangulation, and lack of medical attention. In case you're wondering, we have had 12 people so far this year unalive in ICE custody. In case you're wondering. Autopsies reveal common patterns of lacerations, hematobas, sharp object wounds, and signs of choking or strangulation. Survivors reported being forced to pick food off the floor with their mouths, subjected to electric shocks, and exposed to untreated skin fungus epidemics. Cristasol's director has emphasized that these systemic violations have become state policy. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia reports that he was subjected to severe mistreatment upon arrival at CICAT, including, but not limited to, severe beatings, severe sleep deprivation, inadequate nutrition, and psychological torture. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was the first name called to disembark the plane that transported him to El Salvador on March the 15th of 2025. As he exited the aircraft, still in chains, two officials grabbed his arms and pushed him down the stairs, forcing his head down. There were strong lights illuminating the area despite it being nighttime, and cameras were filming the detainees' arrival. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was pushed toward a bus, forcibly seated, and fitted with a second set of chains and handcuffs. He was repeatedly struck by officers when he attempted to raise his head. He observed an ICE agent on the bus communicating with Salvadorian officials to confirm the identities of the Salvadorian nationals on board before the bus departed. Upon arrival at CICAT, the detainees were greeted by a prison official who stated, quote, "Welcome to CICAT. Whoever enters here doesn't leave," end quote. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was then forced to strip, issued prison clothing, and subjected to physical abuse, including being kicked in the legs with boots and struck on his head and arms to make him change his clothes faster. His head was shaved with a zero razor, and he was frog marched to cell 15, being struck with wooden batons along the way. By the following day, Plaintiff Abrego Garcia had visible bruises and lumps all over his body. I want you all to remember that this is someone that has never been charged with or committed a crime in this country or any other country. I want you to remember that. I'm not even wasting my breath on you. You're not even a human being. I just went ahead and whatever. In cell 15, Plaintiff Abrego Garcia and 20 other Salvadorians were forced to kneel from approximately 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion. During this time, Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was denied bathroom access and soiled himself. The detainees were confined to metal bunks with no mattresses in an overcrowded cell with no windows, bright lights that remained on 24 hours a day, and minimal access to sanitation. For those of you all who do not know, the tactic of bright lights for extended periods of time is a form of torture. Guys, I blocked Francis the minute they said foolishness. So don't even worry about Francis. I blocked as soon as the first fucking statement was said, I blocked them. Ignore the trolls, don't engage with them. If there's any single one of you that believes that this is a good thing and you legitimately want to have a conversation about it, bring your ass to the panel. And I say that with all the love of Jesus. On the day that he turned over the tables in the temple and got out the whip. After approximately 1 week at CCOT, a prison director, Osiris Luna, and other officials separated the 21 Salvadorians who had arrived together. 12 individuals with visible G-related tattoos were moved to another cell, while plaintiff Abrego Garcia remained with 8 others who, like him, upon information and belief, had no G affiliations or tattoos. So that means there are 8 Salvadorians that are there that don't have any G affiliations or tattoos. As reflected by his segregation, the Salvadorian authorities recognized that plaintiff Abrego Garcia was not affiliated with any G, and at around this time, prison officials explicitly acknowledged that plaintiff Abrego Garcia's tattoos were not G-related, telling him, quote unquote, your tattoos are fine. While at CCOT, prison officials repeatedly told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that they would transfer him to the cells containing G members who they assured would, quote unquote, tear him apart. Arnie, accept my invitation to the panel. You've got enough people following you, Arnie. Come on. I really would like for you to join this panel so we can discuss your comment. If you're a real person, Arnie, come on over here. Arnie, your profile says that you're 70 years old. So let me share with you how you can get up here. That little box that says request, all you got to do is hit that little box that says request, or hit the pink and blue button, the pink and blue people at the bottom of the screen. That'll bring you right on up here, Arnie.
Do the bath again.
I'm waiting, Arnie. You coming? See, this is the thing that gets me. All of you folks who pretend like you know the law or pretend like you know what you're talking about, you actually know that you don't. Because when you are challenged, when you are given the opportunity to have a fair intellectual exchange, you don't do it. You don't do it. You'd rather just stay aggressively ignorant in the comments. And what's so sad about this, Arnie, is that if your profile is accurate and you are truly 70 years old, you have lived and seen enough things in your lifetime that you should have some empathy at this point. You should understand the value of learning things. You should appreciate and be open to facts and information that you don't know.
Come on up to the panel. Be a Republican. Learn something. Grow. Be a better person. It's not that hard.
There you go. All right, so here we go. Indeed, sometimes I can be a little intimidating. Sometimes people can be a little bit inhumane. And here's what I think. I think that people who come in here saying inhumane, hateful things about other people should be able to back their shit up and not be intimidated by me. Enough, or you're losing technology. I mean it. So that's what I think. I think if me behind this screen talking facts is intimidating, then maybe those people shouldn't come in here. That's what I think. If you're brave enough, so that, my mama used to say it like this. My mama would say, don't write a check your ass can't cash. That's what she would say. And she would say, if you can't run with the pack, keep your little dog ass on the porch. And so what I will say to people is, if you can't handle fact-based discussion and discourse, go to somebody else's live where you can bullshit your way through it and run your jaws, because that is not going to happen here. And I need 1 second. If I speak one more time, there will be no technology for the rest of the day. Mila, leave her alone. So that's what I have to say. Our mamas are from the same school. Just saying. Let me make sure that I get this part in, DeBoss. While at CCOT, prison officials repeatedly told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that they would transfer him to the cells containing G members who they assured him would, quote unquote, tear him apart. Indeed, plaintiff Abrego Garcia repeatedly observed prisoners in nearby cells who he understood to be G members violently harm each other with no intervention from guards or personnel. Screams from nearby cells would similarly ring out throughout the night without any response from prison guards or personnel. That's another typo that irritates my soul. During his first 2 weeks at CCOT, plaintiff Abrego Garcia suffered a significant deterioration in his physical condition and lost approximately 31 pounds. In 2 weeks, he lost 31 pounds from approximately 215 pounds to 184 pounds. On April 9th, plaintiff Abrego Garcia and 4 others were transferred to a different module in CCOT, where they were photographed with mattresses and better food, photos that appeared to be staged to document improved conditions. On or about April 10th, 2025, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was transferred alone to the Centro Industrial Prison Facility in Santa Ana, El Salvador. While at Centro Industrial, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was frequently hidden from visitors, being told to remain in a separate room whenever outside visitors came to the facility. During his entire time in detention in El Salvador, plaintiff Abrego Garcia was denied any communication with his family and access to counsel until Senator Van Hollen visited him April 17th, 2025. The rest of it I will finish when I get back from taking these kiddos to physical therapy. 31 pounds in 2 weeks, 100% correct. So I'm going to say this to people who say he's a criminal or he was here illegally. Let me be clear to you that entering this country without inspection illegally is the equivalent of a misdemeanor. This is someone who has never physically harmed in terms of he's never unalived anybody. He's never had any criminal charges. He's never done anything worse than most of you all's daddies, pappies, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever. So many of you all will talk to me about the horrible and horrific experiences you've had at healthcare systems and hospitals, but yet you will condone the treatment of this individual who never received his due process and any rights at all. And here's what I would tell you is the hypocrisy is just way too much for me. If you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a believer, and those types of things are coming out of your mouth, expect to hear these words: "Get thee away from me, I know you not." Expect to hear those words: "Get thee away from me, I know you not." Because that is not how this works, people. Humane treatment is not determined. This is why our criminal justice system sucks. Because they don't treat human beings as if they want to rehabilitate them. They treat them as less than human in order to make a shit ton of money off of them. Let's just be clear about what happens in this country. When we have a for-profit prison system, when you have the biggest correctional officer corporation in the country, part of the same organization, ALEC, that your elected officials are part of. All you ever have to do is follow the fucking money. That's all you got to do. And let me just tell you something. It ain't the money that's the problem. Because the Bible does not say, and I'm specifically talking to my Christian folks here, the Bible doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is only evil if the people using the money are evil. I just want to be clear about that. And I'm getting to this place where I am. If you are open to having conversations, then by all means, come on up here and have conversations. Kenny, you can be first. I sent you an invitation, Kenny Strong. Be strong and accept the invitation, Kenny. Show me how strong you are today, Kenny. Join the panel. Thank you. Hey, Kenny, how are you?
Good. How you doing today? Happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, I'm fantastic. So would you share with me, your statement was Kilmar Abrego Garcia is going home. What do you mean by that?
Oh, he's got to go. We've spent too much money and too much time on him. He's here illegally. He needs to go home.
Mm-hmm. So do you understand, Kenny, do you understand what the withholding of removal is?
Yes, the liberals, they want to stall everything.
No, that's not what a withholding of removal is. No, that's not what withholding of removal is. That's actually a legal part of our immigration system. So what I'm asking you, when you say he's here illegally, I want you to understand that he's actually not. Because an immigration judge gave him legal status to be here. He's withholding of removal. And for every single year that he's been here, he has reported to ICE as required to comply with that court order. So he is not here illegally.
Well, he might have been working, but
I didn't say anything about working, Kenny.
Taxes.
Kenny,
How could he work?
Kenny,
How could he work?
let me be clear. It's called an do you know what an application for work authorization is? But I don't want to pivot just yet. Reach up on the top, baby, and get your muffins. They're on the top of the fridge. You can do that. Listen, Kenny, I'm not going to pivot because you said he's here illegally. And now that I've explained that he's not, you want to pivot to something else.
Okay, on Fox News, Sean Hannity says he's here illegally. I believe Sean Hannity.
Well, I don't care. You want to know what I believe? The actual court order from the judge that I just finished reading.
So you think he should just stay here and everything's just going to be fine, right?
What I think is that in 2019, an immigration judge gave him a withholding of removal and gave him stipulations in order to be here and not be deported. What I believe is that he has adhered to those stipulations and done everything that the court asked of him. And in that time frame, he has applied for work authorization, right? And has been working, has been paying local, state, and federal taxes, because that's what happens when you apply for a work authorization. You are given what's called an ITIN number, an individual tax identification number, and that is how you work. So what I believe, Kenny, is that an immigration judge who would obviously know more than you, me, or Sean Hannity determined that he was able to legally be here as long as he's met those conditions. And he did meet those conditions, Kenny. So yes, I think he should be here until an immigration judge terminates the existing order that says he can be here. And that has not happened, Kenny.
Well, when they terminate that order for all his trafficking and all the stuff
Except, Kenny, that's not how that works.
Yeah, well,
That's not how that works, Kenny. So let me make sure that I understand you. So, Kenny, your first comment was he's here illegally. And then when I tell you that an immigration judge gave him a legal pathway to being here, you then pivoted to, well, I mean, do you think he should be here? When I explained to you that an immigration judge has determined that he should be here, and until that changes, he will be here, you want to speculate about something else. Let me ask you a question, Kenny. Let me ask you a question. So Kilmar Abrego Garcia is married to his wife. He and his wife, they both work. They take care of their 3 children. He belongs to a union. He goes to the University of Maryland to get his license to be a full-time sheet metal worker, right? So what I would like for you to tell me, Kenny, and remember that the entire time that he's been here, he's been going to see ICE every single year. Do you know when the last time he went to see ICE was?
No.
January 2nd, 2025. So he just went to check in with ICE January 2nd, 2025, legally, to fulfill his court order. So tell me what your problem is with this man who is doing what the courts have said he can do, that is married, that is taking care of his children, that is taking care of his wife. One of his children is deaf in one ear, intellectually disabled, and is nonverbal. What is it, Kenny, about this man that makes you dislike him so much?
On the news, it clearly showed him in a Suburban with about 6 other guys, and all they had was toothbrushes on him. They didn't have any luggage. He was clearly smuggling people.
Kenny, no, let me just be clear. Kenny, I'm not doing that. You're not going to pivot. We're going to talk about the facts, Kenny, because let me just tell you something. I could say right now, Kenny, that you have a profile picture where you're sitting on the lap of Rhonda McDonald, so that makes you a pedo. I could say that because clearly only someone who wants to attract children would sit on the lap of Rhonda McDonald. But that would be me making, hold on, listen, that would be me making an assumption about you with absolutely no evidence. And the beautiful thing about this country is that allegations aren't enough. We have a legal system that requires due process, and people are innocent until proven guilty. And no one has proved him guilty of anything. So my question is still, and this is the question that I want from you. This is what the answer that I want. Cindy, honey, if you don't want to hear from me, take your ass on. This is the question that I have for you, is what is it about this man that you don't like so much?
And if I can add, imagine Sean Hannity. Hold on, Kenny. Imagine Sean Hannity comes on the air, finds out about you and your picture sitting on Ronald McDonald. Said, "Man, this is the type of Americans we don't need in our country. This is the one tracking." And I watch Fox News and believe in Sean Hannity and said, "Oh my God, man, we need to get Kenny out of his country. We need to put him in jail. We need to go after him. Hey, FBI, DOJ, do your job. Put old man Kenny in jail because this obviously he's looking for a different type of ride." And you got someone like Kenny trying to advocate for you and say, "No, Kenny's a good guy." Imagine going through that scenario and how you'll be hoping people come to your aid that says, "No, it was just an innocent photo. I had nothing to do with Ron McDonald. I love children. Blah, 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 blah." You got to look at the other glass half full type of thing, Kenny. Right now, you're going on a very, very wrong perspective, and you're going down a very dark tunnel as you're sitting there hanging out with Ronald McDonald. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, I'll just throw that out there. But go ahead and ask Kenny, Danny's question.
Yeah. So Kenny, the question that I have is, and I just want to say it again, right? What is it that you have against this man who has a court order to be held legally, who is complying every single year with that court order by meeting with ICE and did so January 2nd of this year, who is married, has a nuclear family with a wife and 3 children. He and his wife work. They take care of their children, including their disabled son. My question to you is, what is it that you don't like so much about this man?
Well, I guess you've got me. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm only calling into this show because the only people I watch is Fox News. So I'm Fox educated, and I don't have the right answer you're ever going to want to hear because I'm only watching the news. So I can admit, you got me beat, and my picture with Ronald McDonald is a Photoshop I did. So yeah, it's all big.
But and my point is that Kenny, I would never. So first of all, thanks for admitting that. That would be number one. Number two, here's the part that's really easy. So when I heard about this latest court filing, right? I saw a bunch of different articles online about it. I kept getting rid of them because I needed to find the one that had the actual court filing. I didn't want to read what the news said about it. I wanted to actually read the court filing for myself so that I would know. Now, Kenny, I'm over 50. How old are you?
I'm 72.
72. So you and I know the value of research and actually finding facts out for yourself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do spend too much time. I can openly admit, you get addicted to things, and I've got to break my addiction to Fox News because it's actually depressing.
Well, it's
stories, and I got to get on the right track.
It's actually oftentimes inaccurate. That's why. Do you know that legally Fox News cannot refer to itself as Fox News?
Yeah, there got to be a comedy or something.
Entertainment.
Entertainment is what their official category is entertainment. They lost the right to call themselves a news network a long time ago, but they still can say Fox News, and people just comes into that and they look into their category. They're an entertainment company.
Right.
And just so you know, Judo is a Republican.
You guys are right. I don't know Kilmar. He could, very well be a good guy, and you can't always just take one side of the news and say that's what it is. But I appreciate you taking my call, and I got to study up on my stuff because I'm kind of weak on the news. But I do appreciate you not yelling at me. Some of these other ladies on these sites yell at me and call me names, and you can't say anything. You are the most polite one, so I'll give you a 5-star rating.
Well, I appreciate that. Here's the reason why.
My advice: stop going out firing rounds like you've been firing off in their lives, and you probably would.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean? Like, good job, Kenny. Hats off from this Republican. I run the Republican News Network. That's why I shout out to myself. But good job, Kenny.
All right.
Yeah, so Judo's also a Republican. Kenny, here's what I will tell you is if you go to my profile on here or anywhere else, you will see a link to my link tree. There's a ton of information, including a lot of information around this court case and Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So the point here and what I like to do in this space is to provide information give people resources to go read that information for yourself, and then have decent conversations. That doesn't mean I can't be mean to people if they make me, but I prefer not to, right? I prefer not to, because at the end of the day, you and I are in the same country and we're in the same boat. Unless you're like a millionaire, Kenny, you and I, yeah, we're in the same boat, right? And so the bottom line is we've got to figure out how to have these conversations in a way that even if we don't agree on everything, we can at least create some connection. We can create some understanding so that we can figure out what we really need to be doing.
You're right. As I say goodbye to you here, you and the other guy were very polite and
Yeah.
not all worked up. You guys didn't demean me, and I want to thank you for that. And I'm a legitimate guy on Facebook. You can see me. That's just all Photoshop. It's all fake. But
I gotcha.
anyway, it was good talking to you guys, and hope you have a nice day today, okay?
You too. We are welcome back anytime, Kenny. Appreciate
All right,
you.
see ya. Thank you.
Boy, that Ronald McDonald got him twisted up. Don't get me twisted.
Look, I went there so quick.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention. I said, "This dude got a photograph of Ronald?" You know?
Because this is the thing, right? When you have to make it real for them,
Yes.
right? And so what if because he said, oh, there was a video of them. Really? Because you got Ronald McDonald up on here. And I could make all kinds of assumptions about that. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh shit, I am a grown ass man with me sitting on Ronald McDonald's lap. So just saying, these are the way that we do things. Yeah, the energy shift was real. Okay, so let me say this, Judo. It is always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes. Do your thing with your little ones.
I will. I appreciate you very much. Let me say this to everybody that is listening. I will be back this evening, probably around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What I'm going to say to you right now is we will finish this evening. We also have some things to talk about when it comes to Pete Hegseth, to Linda McMahon, and things like that. Sorry, that's just my natural reflex when I talk about her. And so we have a lot of information to talk about this evening. So make sure that you do that. Follow me across the socials. I am at the Dani Cook everywhere. And the podcast episodes where you can hear people that were even more embedded and magarific than Kenny on my podcast, which is the Dani Cook Show. It's on all of the platforms. So go listen, check it out. You're here on many conversations, even more intense and long than what Kenny and I just had, because this is the work that we've got to do. We've got to inform people. And then we've got to inform people in a way that builds connection, that builds conversation, because we've got a country to save. And that's going to require working together. So I appreciate you guys for everything. Absolutely. I will see you all this evening. Take care of yourself. Mila, I am coming. I'll see you guys later.